ResortLoop.com is proud to be sponsored by Joffrey's Coffee and Tea Company. Joffrey's now offers coffee subscriptions. You can order a 3, 6, or 12-month subscription. You can choose from 3 collections: the Flavored Coffee Collection, the Roastmasters Collection, or the Disney Signature Coffee Collection. Each collection includes 3 bags per month. With the Joffrey's Coffee subscriptions, never run out of great coffee again. Learn more and order at Joffreys.com.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
The body of water that you see to the right of our forward motion is the Seven Seas Lagoon. The Seven Seas Lagoon is a man-made creation that took 3 years and the removal of millions of cubic yards of earth to complete.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. I'm Tim Scott. This is ResortLoop.com. Very excited for today's show. Today, joining us on the show, supporter of the show, Mr. Victor Nawrocki. Hey, Victor.
How are you?
Victor, we were just talking before the show, and you're talking about how nice it is in Florida right now.
Oh, my gosh. Well, it's a little hot.
Well, yeah.
It's a little hot, but, you know, living here doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me until someone says, aren't you hot? Aren't you hot? And I'm like going, yeah, now that you mention it.
Right. Victor, you've been up in the north. You don't have to shovel sunshine.
No, it's beautiful. And it's, we get a rain, almost once a day. Mm-hmm. Cools it off. It didn't come today, surprisingly. Probably be tonight or something. You get a little cool off rain. So I always say in the summer, Dollar Tree is your friend. Go buy a Dollar Tree poncho. There you go. And just carry it around with you in your conveniently and awkward looking fanny pack.
That's right. And they're so tiny until you need to whip them out.
Yeah. They're great.
Victor, we thought a good topic today to talk about, just up your alley, was staying at like one of the home rental places, like a Vrbo or a AirBNB. Like, what should we look for? What would you recommend down that way, down in the Disney bubble?
Well, whenever I mention it to people, they always say, oh, I want to stay on property.
Right.
This is everything to me. I want to stay on property. And then I say to them, oh, when are you coming? Well, next year we're saving up. Did you just hear what you just said? The thing is about staying on property, we just mentioned this, a value resort, for example, could cost $200 a night.
Yes.
A moderate priced resort could cost $300 a night, and 4 people in the room.
Yes.
That's it. And it's not convenient. I mean, when I, used to travel with my family, and we had me, my sister, and my parents. I mean, I used to have to sleep with my father in the bed, and then my mother was in her bed with my sister, and I'm sorry, none of that none of that is a fond memory. So, and that's the way it is when you're traveling with a small family. I mean, if you had 2 boys, well, that's inconvenient. If you had 2 girls, well, that's inconvenient, Well, I guess 2 girls would sleep in the same bed, and yeah, I'd be probably okay. But
yeah, well, the older kids get, the smaller those rooms really become.
Oh, yeah, and 1 bathroom.
Right. So,
like, my sister has 3 girls, and she once stayed at a hotel, and the waiting to get to use the bathroom was ridiculous. So the thing is, yes, it's terrific to stay on property, but at $300 a night, now what if you want to bring grandma? Well, now you have to get into a suite.
Right.
And grandma's got to walk all the way through the entire, sometimes you're walking through those hotels. It's a long walk.
It can be, yes.
Yeah. So yes, they'd all have elevators and all that, but it certainly isn't convenient for somebody who is maybe, needs a little help on the stairs, or just needs to, can't get around much anymore. So it in that respect. Now, a lot of I remember my vacation rental that I owned. The first guest that I had was a typical guest. The husband and wife, 2 kids, grandma, and their brother-in-law who had just lost his job. And so she goes, "Do you have Wi-Fi in the house?" I said, "Absolutely, it's great." And she goes, "Great. My brother-in-law is going to sit by the pool and apply for jobs."
Hey, there you go.
Right during 2009, people were losing jobs. And, and it was, so grandma got a room with her own bath and a step-in shower.
Mm-hmm.
The husband and wife got a room with their own bath. The kids and the uncle shared a bath. That's not bad for $150 a night.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that's what it was back then for us. Now I'd be charging $300 anyway.
Because everyone else is at that point.
Well, you know what the thing is. So now, maybe grandma, the mother and father want to go to Disney Springs at night, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they wanted to go to Disney Springs at night and they didn't bring grandma, could they leave them in the room? No. And don't do that. Because maybe you got an 8, 9, 10-year-old kid, and they want to sleep because they had a long day.
Yes.
You, the adults, want to go out and do some shopping, maybe even have a drink or something like that, and then come back to the hotel, to the room.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you don't have to wake everybody up coming to a room.
You bring grandma is a live-in babysitter.
Oh.
Exactly.
I see you working it.
That's why this helps so much. Now, another thing that's great that people don't think about, I mean, honestly, if you have the money to rent 2 rooms, go ahead and do it. Have some fun. But if you don't, and you're trying to stay in a budget, think about what it would cost you. Maybe you're staying at one of my favorite resorts, Port Orleans Riverside, right?
Nice, yes.
You're staying there. How much does it cost for 8 people to have breakfast?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And now multiply that by 7.
Right.
So now say you don't have an efficiency or something like that. Just the idea of having a glass of milk in the morning for the kids is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So here you have a full kitchen with all your cooking utensils. It probably costs you the same as one breakfast to feed the family for breakfast for 7 mornings. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you go, and then maybe when you okay, so then we head to the parks. You go to the parks, you have you have your fun for the day, you have lunch, and right around dinner time you come back and you have dinner, maybe on the grill. After dinner, kids play a little in the pool, they go to sleep, you go out for a couple hours. That's how now, the other benefit is when you're staying on property, and I love staying on property,
mm-hmm.
You're really locked in to, now if you don't have your car with you, you're really locked into Disney every single day. Right?
Yeah, which is how they like
you're
it.
You're not, unless you're going to go in Uber
mm-hmm.
to Universal or something. But for the father who is doing this he stopped working on Friday, he got on the plane on Saturday, he's coming back on Saturday, and then Monday he's going back to work. And same for the mother. Mm-hmm. They could be doing, I'm sorry, going every single day is not really a great vacation.
It can be exhausting.
Yeah, it's exhausting. And you come back and you're even more tired than when you left. But if you have your own house with its own pool And you could sit by the pool for a day or two and relax. There you go. So now, of course, you have to have a car, obviously. So a lot of my customers who stayed at my rentals were driving in. Almost everybody was driving in, or they would rent a car. I find it a little upsetting now that they charge $25 for parking.
Oh, don't get me started, Victor.
Now here's another thing. Here's another thing. If you're traveling with a family and you've rented a car, and what a lot of my customers would do is that when I used to tell them, oh, they're charging $25 now to park at the parks,
mm-hmm.
They would say, well, Grandma's dropping us off. Grandma's not going to the parks. Grandma's going to drop us off. Then she's going to go touring around with Grandpa or something like that. So that was, and another thing is, if you have someone with you who has an annual pass,
there you go.
They get in there and they park at the, but generally the people who stay at the vacation rentals don't go to Disney every single day.
Right. And they're probably people who have been to Disney many times.
They go around, they go to Universal,
mm-hmm.
They go to the outlets, they go to Tampa, they see Florida for a couple of days. But as I said, when you're staying on property, you're really locked into staying on property.
Yeah, I think it's something a lot of people who go to Disney don't even sometimes realize all the extra stuff that's around there that is very enjoyable.
Yeah, and you know what they see of Central Florida doesn't actually seem that pleasant when you're staying at a budget hotel. And of course there's great budget hotels around. There's
mm-hmm.
terrific ones, but it doesn't still the one that's not far from me. Last time I checked, it was like $80 for a room. So you'd have to rent 2 rooms. And that would not be, I don't think that would be pleasant at all compared to, for the same price, getting a full house.
Oh, absolutely. Because I know for me, vacation was always, the accommodations are a big part of the vacation, being comfortable on vacation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, so, when the other thing, of course, like I mentioned, is the meals. You're going to save a fortune on meals. I say it's like 1/10 of what you would pay in the restaurants. Now, obviously, nothing beats going to the Primetime Cafe, right? That's like great. But most people can't afford that every night, every day. That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money, but I mean, you can still splurge and do that if you're having, your breakfast, back at your, I was going to say your room or your house.
And, and a lot of my guests will do this. They will, they'll say, oh, the neighbor's kid is coming, or my daughter's best friend is coming. How could you do that if you were renting a room?
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't do that at all.
Yeah, not with the standard room. That's a whole lot of awkward in there.
It would be awful. It would be awful. And you couldn't do it. Have a whole house. Sometimes you can give, some of these houses are up to 13 rooms.
That is a nice house. That is some room there.
Big house. Now those get rented to, like, when teams come into town to do events and stuff, and they're like, $700-800 a night, those. But the average one that you look at, it could be around, I saw one today that the whole week was $1,200 with the service fee that they charge and everything. It was $1,200 in peak season. That's not bad in a good community.
I was just going to ask about the communities these houses are in. So it sounds very appealing to stay at. How close, like what area would you recommend someone to stay in? They still want to get to the parks quickly.
Yeah. Well, the 34747 zip code is Kissimmee. Okay, that's a good one to start with.
Oh, good tip.
There are some in Davenport, which are very nice, and I've actually sold them. I've sold in Davenport before. There's a couple communities that I really like. So use me as the Facebook page right now, because I always suggest people go to something like one or two of the Facebook pages that they follow and say, what community did you stay in? Did you like its features? How far away was it from Disney? Was there any trouble at night?
Right.
There's really not that much trouble at night, but there are some that can be a little hectic. Did you enjoy everything that did you get your money's worth? And they'll come up with a list of communities. And I always say, map them out and add double to whatever time that you're told online to get there. Because it always takes a little bit more with some of these communities that are a little further out. When I first bought my homes and I didn't have my real estate license and I didn't know the area, I was the prime. There's no other way to say it, but I was the prime sucker.
Oh, no.
Yes, I was the typical sucker, and my realtor didn't tell me otherwise.
Oh, my.
So I ended up buying in a community that I had to really, really hustle to be booked all the time. And that's what you have to be booked all the time. But I still was booked all the time. I was booked 48 weeks out of the year. We had trouble doing the spring cleaning. I was booked so much. If I had some of these other communities that are more desirable, I probably would have, not sold as quickly as I did. But what I would always suggest is, the first thing is, I have a list of 10 things that people look for when they're renting. I'll start with number 10.
Okay.
I always say, ask first about the communities. What's a good community? Where did you stay? Because the people online will tell you, and then do your own research. There's like 5 or 6 that I really love. The number one that I like is Windsor Hills. Not necessarily to buy, because it's a little older and doesn't have the features of the new homes, but Windsor Hills is 10 minutes to Disney.
Oh, perfect.
You turn out of the driveway, you turn left, you turn right, you get on the World Drive, you're there.
Wow.
That's it. So that's a good one. That is a really good. It's called Windsor Hills, and it's gated. Okay. The other one that I like is Windsor at West Side, which is still in Kissimmee. Down probably more west. Another one I like is Paradise Palms. I think it's not. I don't know if the HOA is so strong. Some of the houses look a little dirty, but that's on the outside, like they aren't forcing them to paint them. But that's, to me, so what? The inside is beautiful. Mm-hmm. Forget it. Don't worry about it.
Right.
And they got a terrific community center. I love community centers, and I love gates. Then there's Windsor Island and Solara. Solara has the most amazing community center. They have a wave rider where you can use little boogie boards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's right there. And then they have a kiddie pool and an adult pool. They have now I haven't seen it yet, but I'm told it's a 5-star restaurant. I haven't been there at night yet, so I don't know. And they have a little marketplace there where you can buy sodas and things like that. It's very, very cute. So that's a great community as well. And then there's another one that I like called Emerald Island. Emerald Island doesn't have any community features, though. It really doesn't, but it does have a gate. So those are the ones, if you're writing things down to rent, that I'd say you'd be so happy there. The other one, I forgot about this one. Reunion West, not the typical Reunion.
Okay.
Got to be careful. Got to get the Reunion West. Reunion West has a water park. It has the slides. It has a pool. It has, it has basically everything there with 3 restaurants. So it's an amazing, amazing community that people buy these houses. They own them. They rent them out to tourists. And then maybe 2-3 weeks out of a year or more, they come down and they use them themselves. Okay. So, yeah, Reunion is a great one, too, especially if you have young kids. But if you're scared about them getting on water slides, don't get it. Don't go. Don't go.
I was looking at Reunion West on the map here. It looks like you just hop on 429 and it takes you right up near Animal Kingdom.
Yes, it could. Yes. You could just hop on the 429. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's also a nice one, too, called The Grove, which is the Grove is like a condo hotel. So, and I believe the prices are very, very competitive, but and they still have a full kitchen. And some of the rooms can see the fireworks right out their windows. Windsor Island, which I've just closed on a townhome there, you could see the fireworks from that community.
Oh.
Yeah. So when you're looking for a place, let's go to number 9. The thing I look for is take a good look at the pictures and see if there's enough space by the pool. Because when there's not enough space by the pool, it's very, very inconvenient to use the pool. I don't look for a big pool as much as I look for space by the pool. Because when the chairs are like right at the edge of the pool, I know there's not enough space back there. And if you've ever tried to get around a bunch of chairs, it's just not convenient. Also, you want to stretch out. Some of these houses, the way they're built, there's not enough room to stretch out.
That's a great tip. I wouldn't have thought about room around the pool.
Yeah, well, you just want to make sure that you have, and some will provide little, so you can eat outside. And then maybe if you rent a grill, some houses will come with a grill, but I don't advise that because there's no way to keep it really clean. Long story, you'd rent a grill for like $50, $60 for the week. And it would come to you gassed up and cleaned.
Wow.
Yeah. So you just got to ask them if they have a service that does that.
Okay.
The other thing when you have younger kids is to have arcade space in the house. Now, I don't particularly, as an owner, I didn't like that. I was surprised when I learned that I had to have, go out and buy a pool table and a ping pong table and put it in the garage. It's something that they look for, Also, you can ask if the garage is insulated properly. I never insulated my garage properly. I didn't realize that it can get really hot in there. But I like the houses that are big enough that you can put the playthings in the second loft space, in the second floor. Sometimes they'll put them upstairs and they'll have when they have a second family room. That I think is great, to put them inside the house. But then the actual, the garage doesn't get used at all because honestly, people don't put their cars in garages when they're on vacation. I don't understand why. I mean, I never leave my car outside in Florida. Mm-hmm. The other thing is if you're going to use the pool all day, or you're going to use it on different times each day, to look for a south-facing pool.
Ooh.
So that way the sun is rising in the east, setting in the west. You're getting the sun all day. You're not blocked by the house,
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Or it's not, you're not waiting for the sun to, if you're facing west, for the sun to pass over your house and then get it later on in the day. So that's a good thing too.
Yeah.
And also, having a hot tub in the pool too is attached. I will tell people though, don't assume that you're going to be able to use the pool in the dead of winter, because we do get some cold winters here.
Mm-hmm.
And the average temperature for the day is 50 degrees. That pool temperature is 50 degrees as well. And it's very, very expensive and sometimes impossible to keep the pool warm. Now, for example, you can't run the heater for the pool at night. So it's just not going to do anything. So it shuts off. And then it's just, you're all night long, the pool's cooling out. So just don't assume because you're coming in the winter and you're paying for that pool heat because you have to pay extra for it.
True.
That you actually can get it if it's very cold.
Right.
And honestly, I don't know why people would use the pool when it's 30 or 40 degrees outside. You're going to get pneumonia. Anyway,
Right.
I like communities because when you have teenagers and stuff and other age groups, with basketball courts or tennis courts, I think that's just something that's really nice to have. And I do occasionally get those questions for that. So I think that's a thing that you can ask for. It's available. If you need it, ask, see if they have it there. The fifth one is really important.
Okay.
You got to really look at this property and see where people are parking their cars.
Mm.
Because if you only have one space in front of the driveway, right, that's where you're parking your car. But if you've got a 6-bedroom home and you're bringing grandma and she's driving down and someone else is driving down and then someone else, you're going to have 3 cars. You better know where you're going to be parking them.
Right.
So some communities like that aforementioned Paradise Palms has a lot of extra parking. Lots of extra parking. Solara has some extra parking as well. Windsor Island has some extra parking. The newer ones have wised up and added extra parking. And speaking of which, you can also rent a townhome. And townhomes will also have some pools too. So, just like owning a townhome is easier than owning a house, same as staying in one too.
Okay.
Just easy come and go. You don't have garages. You just drive up, you bring in your groceries, your everything. Speaking of groceries.
Yes.
One thing that always made me laugh was how many times people would ask me, how close is the Walmart? And I'm like, Walmart? Why do you have to have a Walmart?
That's not very vacation-like.
Yeah, but I will tell you, 1 out of 10 people used to ask me that.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and at the time, the Walmart was 30 minutes away. That was not pleasant to have to tell people.
Mm-hmm.
So now there's a Walmart. And in fact, it's right outside the gates of Windsor Hills. There's one right there. A lot of the overseas people love Walmart. So they want to go in and buy a bunch of stuff and take it home, I guess.
Okay.
But you got to be close to the shopping. And you have to ask. Now, there's a lot of shopping around Davenport, Kissimmee, and all that. In fact, I think there's twice as many grocery stores as there were 10 years ago. So you won't have a shortage of grocery stores at any of the communities. Now, there are some communities that are too far away. Haines City is too far away.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had a customer that I worried that I'm not going, when customers buying something and insisting on something, in the same way that I insisted that I wanted this house. I wasn't looking at the real needs, and my agent didn't care. But you do not want to be 45 minutes away from Disney, because that 45 minutes could end up being an hour and a half.
Oh, easily.
Because you could get onto the 4 freeway and be backed up. You could be at the interchange in Champions Gate, which could be backed up, where, I mean, honestly, when I was moving into my new house, I stayed in Champions Gate for 6 months, 15 minutes to go 2 blocks.
Oh,
Unreal. Now, I normally don't encounter traffic around Central Florida. I really don't. That's where I did. So because so that's why it's very important to ask people, where did they stay? What was the biggest drawback? Reunion West, God love it. If you don't take Old Lake Wilson, and if you go too far down Old Lake Wilson, you will get into some traffic. There's some real bad traffic right down that road.
Traffic is not magical on vacation.
No, it's not. And, you just have to be, just take in account that you might hit it if you didn't do your research too well. Here's my number 3 thing.
Okay.
Is if you're getting a 2-story home, okay, which I like 2-story homes. And the reason I like 2-story homes is because the pool space in the back is bigger.
Oh.
Okay, because when they've got a 40-foot lot, they got to put the whole house on it, and the house goes back another 5-10 feet. So now, when you got 2 stories, you get more space upstairs, and and they have more space to build their pool. Hopefully, they do.
Right.
So, the feature I like is to have a 1st floor bedroom, and it doesn't have to be the master.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's got a full bath, because if I had that when I bought my houses, and I did on the second home we bought, if I had that, I could have kept another 1 out of 20 people, because they were bringing grandma.
Right.
And, grandma doesn't want to walk up the stairs.
No.
So that is a really good feature, unless you're getting a 1-story home, which then, of course, you're even wheelchair accessible. My first guest at my sister's house was in a wheelchair, and it was through a miracle, one of those things that gives people, not give kids the world, but
like Make-A-Wish?
Yeah, like Make-A-Wish for adults.
Okay.
It was very nice. And I was talking to some people, and they said, we got a new house and yada, yada, yada. So they didn't pay, but he was our first guest, and he passed away like 6 months later. But he always wanted to take his kids to Disney World, and God bless Disney World. They gave them free tickets. He was a veteran. He was a veteran. So
they're the best.
I mean, honestly, they were so nice to them, because they gave half the family tickets and the other half they didn't. But when one of the guests went up there, they said, do you think we just want to take a picture inside, because, with him, and we're going to go back to the house. And they said, how long are you staying? And they said, 5 days. And they gave the other 3 people 5-day passes. So anytime people pick on Disney, I go, you know what? They're not all bad.
Right.
They're not all bad. That's a lot of money they gave to those people.
Yes.
So a lot of my guests, number 2 is that they wanted gated communities with a real entrance, where you enter, you get your pass, you could go in, and then you can go in and out as you please, with a 24-hour attendant. Now that's key, because a lot of these communities that have gates, they'll say, we have a gate. Oh, that's terrific. But you know what? That gate is useless, because you will invariably see someone follow right behind you.
Oh, right. Exactly.
So gate it with attendant if you're concerned. A lot of the break-ins that happen in short-term rentals are because people just leave the doors unlocked.
Oh, wow.
Those people who follow in, drive up, maybe pretend they have a package, and go for the door. And if it's open, all your stuff gets stolen. Your computers, your cameras, everything you brought with you. So lock your doors and have a 24-hour gate is always nice, but don't get a false sense of security. Anything can happen.
Absolutely. Anything can happen anywhere.
Yeah, it can. I mean, honestly, I was very, very fortunate. 5 years at my house, we had an alarm system. It was never breached. Nobody ever tried to get in. So that was great. And I used, they'd set the alarm when they left, and, it was fine. We never had a problem. And the last one that I want to talk about is being close to Disney.
Yes.
That is the number one thing I used to get asked when I had my properties. And you got it, the closer you can say, the better, because as I said earlier, whatever time you think it is, double it. Mm-hmm. Unless you're so close that you only got to take 2 turns and you're there.
Right.
Windsor Hills, 2 turns, you're there. Paradise Palms, 5 minutes, you're there. Windsor West Side, 7 minutes. So it's like, so those are the ones that I really think are where you really benefit from renting. Because honestly, like I said earlier, if you leave at 5 o'clock and you get stuck in some rush hour traffic and you don't get to the house back till 6:15, are you really going to jump in the car again to go back to Disney Springs? I don't think so.
Right.
So I always tell people, get as close as you can, and I tell my buyers the same thing. You want to be able to show them how close it is to Disney, because that's the number one thing people ask for. And you might as well get it if you can.
Yes.
If you're saving a lot of money, you better save a lot of money by being far out.
Yeah, I would want to be close. That's one of the reasons I always like staying at Disney, because I have a big commute to work. And the last thing I want to do on vacation is have any longer commute than necessary. So when you're talking about 2 turns or 5 minutes, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah. And you know what? Uber now,
Right.
So you could Uber in for, I can Uber from where I live. Well, I live really, really close to Disney, but I would say it would be $10, $15 from where I am, to Disney, so, and I would just have them drop me off at a resort. I hope you could do that. But, yeah, I would just drop off at a resort.
Yeah.
So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Those are a lot of great tips there.
Yeah. So and when you map it out, and like I said, add double.
Right.
And now there's a lot of communities that are kind of close to Disney, but my God, you get stuck in this traffic if you're going during peak season. So, that's why I like that western side where Paradise Palms is right now, and Windsor at West Side and Solara. Because they're just just really, really minutes to Disney.
Now, Victor, you might have touched on this, but these Airbnbs, these house rental type things, does the owner ever stay there on their own? Do they stay there for like a week, or do they just constantly rent them out?
Absolutely. Well, depending on how many they own. Some 3 or 4.
Wow.
So they may, not stay in them all, but a lot of the people buy them so that they can, stay in them a week or 2, and then, and they come in and do the freshen up and the deep cleaning, change things out, when they're there too. And then they also, enjoy it just like a customer would. Yeah, they do that. Definitely. Nice. It's part of the benefit of owning one is to come and use it a couple times. Now I've had people tell me that they would, they're planning on buying one so that they can retire in it later on. And I kind of go like, oh, maybe if you're a snowbird, and you're coming down for a couple of months out of the year, but these are actually not good residential long-term properties because you don't know your neighbors. You could still walk around and stuff, but you're paying a lot of money for features that you may not really use.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to do it a couple of months out of the year, yeah, and then still rent it out. I think that's great, but not for to live long term because it's sort of the antithesis of a retirement community,
right?
Because the retirement communities that I sell in, and one day we'll talk about them. The retirement communities that I sell in, they really are communities. I mean, people know each other. They do things together.
Mm-hmm.
They look out for one another. It's a very unique situation. And for all my customers that I've sold to them, I've sold probably like 20 over 55 communities. They've all raved about it. I haven't had a person sell one of them yet. And sometimes they'll, I haven't had one be unhappy yet. So
I'm going to ask a question. Maybe we're just teasing something we'll talk about on another show at some point down the road. Could maybe having a rental house and you go down there, would it be enough to like pay for itself? Well, you can use it. I don't want to say rent free, but it's paid for itself. So you going down for a week is basically free. If I'm using the right terminology.
Hopefully. You got to do the math.
All right. I think that's going to have to be another show.
Yeah, you really do have to do the math. If you don't have something that other people can't find elsewhere, you're not going to fill it up. Mm-hmm. My house was booked all the time. And why? Because I had a Dalmatian room, I had a Western theme room, I had a Kate May room. I had a Mary Poppins room, and they all had different features, different colors. So it was easy to, to differentiate the rooms. So people saw something there that they couldn't find elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was booked 48 weeks out of the year.
Right. That's fantastic. We're going to have to talk about this on another show because I'm really kind of intrigued by that thought.
Terrific.
We've talked about renting them, but maybe somebody out there would like to consider buying one.
Well, next one we do, they could always go to disney@yourdoorstep.com to contact me if they're interested in that. But I would like to go in depth with you about how to own one.
Oh, absolutely. That'd be a great show.
Yeah, be fun.
Oh, well, Victor, thanks so much for joining us again on the show.
Thank you. I love it.
Awesome. And you heard Victor. If you have any questions for him, disney@yourdoorstep.com. You can find him there. He'll help you out. Victor, thanks again for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
Everybody, I'm Tim Scott, Facebook, Twitter, of course, the website, ResortLoop.com. We still have that survey going on out there at ResortLoop.com/survey. Love to hear everybody's input. Everybody, you've been listening to The Gateway to the Magic. We will see you, everybody. Vacation memories will stay with you and your family for a lifetime. The Resort Loop Travel Group was created with this in mind. Our fee-free services will relieve you of the stress and confusion of finding and booking the best vacation at the best price. After booking, we will continue to monitor for ways to save you even more on your vacation. We will check for any upcoming packages and discounts to save you as many vacation dollars as possible. Resort Loop Travel Group, gateway to your magical vacation memories. Get a quote, or for more information, visit ResortLoopTravelGroup.com.